Hello friends, I'm glad you're joining me today because we're about to embark on a journey that's both eye-opening and deeply personal. Whether you're a student, a parent, or just someone who cares about the future of our schools, this story will resonate with you. I'm Ed Ucater, and today we're diving into a real story from Dallas, Texas, a city known for its vibrant communities, big dreams, and like every place, its share of challenges. In the heart of this city, something happened that changed the lives of many. And it all started in a place you might not expect, a local high school. In this city, schools are more than just buildings made of brick and mortar. They're living, breathing communities. Every morning, families send their children through those doors, filled with hope and trust that their kids will be safe, supported, and inspired to grow. Our story centers on Woodtown High, a school that once echoed with laughter, the buzz of learning, and a sense of belonging. It was a place where students felt seen, where teachers felt valued, and where the community came together to celebrate every achievement, big or small. For years, Woodtown High was a beacon, a place where students thrived, teachers inspired, and families felt proud to be part of something special. The halls were filled with energy, and the classrooms were alive with curiosity and creativity, but then, slowly and almost silently, a shadow crept in. It started as a whisper, a feeling that something wasn't quite right. Before long, that shadow grew, changing everything and leaving a mark that would be hard to erase. This is a story about power, how it can be used to lift people up, or to tear them down. It's about the choices leaders make, and the consequences those choices have on everyone around them. Teachers who once poured their hearts into their work were pushed out, their voices silenced. Students who needed support the most found themselves alone, their struggles ignored by those in charge. It's a tough story, and at times, it's painful to hear. But it's also an important one, because it reminds us that what happens inside our schools matters to everyone. The real lessons in schools aren't just found in textbooks or on tests. They're in the way people treat each other, in the kindness shown, and in the courage to stand up for what's right. So let's step inside Woodtown High together. Let's meet the teachers, students, and families whose lives were upended, and see how a place once full of promise became a place of fear and uncertainty. It all began with a new leader, Principal Timothy Thompson. He arrived with big ideas and a commanding presence, ready to make his mark on the school. With every decision, he would soon hold the fate of many in his hands, shaping the future of Woodtown High in ways no one could have predicted. This isn't a fairy tale, and there's no guarantee of a happy ending. It's a warning, a reminder that the choices we make and the leaders we trust can change everything. So let's walk the halls and listen to the whispers. This is Woodtown High, a place where hope and fear collided and where the story is still being written. When Principal Timothy Thompson first arrived at Woodtown High, it felt as if a new era had begun. He swept through the halls with a magnetic presence, confident, charismatic, and full of bold promises. Students and staff alike were drawn to his energy, and many believed he would bring the unity and positive change the school desperately needed. In those early days, Thompson made a point to greet everyone by name. He spoke passionately about teamwork, inclusion, and building a supportive community. His words inspired hope, and for a while it seemed as if the school was truly coming together under his leadership. But as the months passed, a subtle shift began to take place. The warmth that once radiated from Thompson started to cool, replaced by a more distant and guarded demeanor. The open-door policy he once championed quietly disappeared. Now, his office door was often closed, and only a select group of staff members were invited inside for private meetings. Teachers began to notice that Thompson's mood could change in an instant. One day he was supportive and encouraging, the next he was cold, critical, and even dismissive. The staff room, once a place of camaraderie, became tense. Teachers found themselves divided. Those who were favored by Thompson felt secure, while others felt scrutinized and anxious about their standing. Whispers and worried glances filled the teachers' lounge. Conversations turned to speculation. What had happened to the leader they once trusted? Was the principal they admired just a mask? It soon became clear that earning Thompson's approval was the only way to feel safe. His praise was rare, but when given, it felt like a lifeline. Two distinct worlds emerged within the school, the insiders who enjoyed his favor, and the outsiders who felt isolated and vulnerable. The sense of unity that once defined Woodtown High began to fracture. Fear and uncertainty crept into daily life, changing the atmosphere in subtle but unmistakable ways. At the heart of it all stood Principal Thompson, the man with two faces. To some, he was still the visionary leader. To others, he had become a source of anxiety and division. With every decision, his power seemed to grow, and so did the rift among the staff. The school was no longer a single community, but a place of hidden alliances and quiet fears. Woodtown High would never be the same. The shadow of the principal with two faces now loomed over every hallway, every classroom, and every conversation. Principal Thompson didn't rule alone. He built an inner circle of loyalists. His assistant principals echoed his every command, acting as his eyes and ears. The community liaison, Mr. Chandler, became his enforcer, intimidating staff and students alike. Officer Felton, the school resource officer, focused his discipline on young black men, creating fear instead of safety. Tammy Thomas, a favored teacher, spread gossip and reported to Thompson, making her colleagues wary. This group formed a wall around the principal, targeting anyone who questioned their authority. If you weren't in the circle, you were vulnerable. The inner circle enforced Thompson's will, isolating dissenters. Trust eroded, paranoia grew. The school's culture shifted from collaboration to survival. The message was clear: loyalty was rewarded, dissent was punished. The inner circle's power was absolute. Woodtown High's spirit was breaking. At Woodtown High, you were either with the principal's group or against them, no middle ground. Favor brought rewards, better schedules, glowing evaluations, and resources. But fall out of favor, and the consequences were swift. Assistant principals nitpicked lessons, supplies vanished, and important emails went missing. Mr. Chandler intimidated, Tammy Thomas spread rumors. The campaign was relentless, designed to make you feel isolated and incompetent. Teachers stopped collaborating, afraid to trust anyone. Innovation died, survival became the goal. The joy of teaching was replaced by anxiety. The unwritten rules created a toxic atmosphere. Speaking up meant risking your career. The focus shifted from students to self-preservation. Woodtown High became a place of fear, not learning. To truly understand the impact of these policies, let's take a closer look at the story of Miss Alvarez, a beloved English teacher at Woodtown High. For years, she inspired her students with her passion for literature and her creative approach to teaching. Her classroom was a place where students felt safe to express themselves, and her colleagues admired her dedication and warmth. Miss Alvarez was known for going above and beyond, organizing after-school writing clubs, helping struggling students, and always finding new ways to make learning engaging. She was creative, dedicated, and respected by everyone, until the day she voiced her concerns about a new administrative policy she believed would harm her students. That single act of speaking up, a simple disagreement, was enough to put her on Principal Thompson's list of problem teachers. Almost overnight, the atmosphere changed. Miss Alvarez, who had always received glowing evaluations, suddenly found herself under a microscope. She faced constant criticism and unfair evaluations, with administrators nitpicking her every move. Her once stellar reviews plummeted, replaced by vague, unhelpful feedback that offered no real guidance. The support she once felt from her supervisors vanished, replaced by suspicion and coldness. It became clear that the goal wasn't to help her improve, but to push her out. The pressure was relentless, and the message unmistakable. Feeling targeted, isolated, and unsupported by the very system she had served so loyally, Miss Alvarez made the heartbreaking decision to resign from her position. But even after leaving, the retaliation didn't stop. When she tried to return as a substitute teacher, Thompson quietly blocked her from being rehired, shutting the door on her career in the district. There was no official explanation, no paperwork, just a silent, calculated act of revenge that left Miss Alvarez with nowhere to turn. Her career, once so promising, was derailed simply for having the courage to speak up for her students and her values. The message to the rest of the staff was chilling and unmistakable. Stay silent or you could be next. Fear began to spread among the teachers, replacing the trust and camaraderie that once defined the school. Good teachers like Miss Alvarez were pushed out, not because they failed their students, but because they dared to have a voice and stand up for what was right. Miss Alvarez's story echoed through the halls, a cautionary tale that left everyone on edge. The sense of community was replaced by an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. The cost of dissent was painfully clear. Creativity and compassion were stifled, and the school lost more than just a teacher. In the end, Woodtown High lost not only Miss Alvarez but also a sense of hope and possibility for its students and staff. Abuse of power spread beyond the principal's office. Mr. Chandler meant to connect with parents, instead policed students and teachers, acting far beyond his role. He delivered inconsistent, unfair discipline, favoring some, punishing others harshly. His presence intimidated students, especially those with no one to turn to. Officer Felton's actions were even more damaging. He targeted young black men, escalating minor issues into major punishments. These students learned to fear authority, not respect it. Rule enforcement was selective and discriminatory. The culture was toxic, power used to single out and punish. The administration's message: some students mattered, others did not. The school's leadership failed its most vulnerable. Woodtown High became a place of exclusion and fear. While control and punishment ruled, support vanished. Programs for struggling students, especially young men, were neglected or non-existent. Instead of help, students faced suspension or even secret unenrollment. One sick student was removed from the roster despite medical notes, denied education when they needed it most. Students became numbers, not individuals. Compassion was replaced by bureaucracy. For many, Woodtown High was a place of rejection, not opportunity. The administration's disregard for fairness led to a public crisis: title violations in girls' athletics. Without warning, girls' athletic periods were cut, while boys' teams kept theirs. This forced girls to choose between sports and academics, violating federal law. Outraged, parents and students organized, demanding action at a school board meeting. Their evidence was clear: the school was breaking the law. The district intervened, ordering the girls' athletic periods restored. It was a victory for fairness, but incomplete. Principal Thompson faced no real consequences. He broke the law, but only had to reverse his decision. The double standard was obvious. Staff and students saw that power protected him. The culture of impunity continued, justice was partial, and trust was further eroded. The Title IX incident exposed a troubling truth. At Woodtown High, accountability was for some, not all. Teachers and students faced harsh consequences for small missteps. The principal broke federal law and walked away unscathed. Why was Thompson untouchable? Sometimes leaders who deliver numbers are protected, no matter the cost. The system failed to check his power. Fear kept others silent. Filing complaints led nowhere. The story of Woodtown High is a warning. A school's culture starts at the top. When power goes unchecked, everyone suffers. We must demand schools where safety, fairness, and learning come first, for everyone.